So now we're on step 16. We're going to stitch the back and the front together at the shoulder seams and at the sides. We're going to press those shoulder seams towards the front and the side seams open. So that's step 16. Let's do it. So this is the front piece and that's the back piece, and clearly there's a problem here to me. But I'm trusting the process. So if you look at the instructions, it shows that the shoulder comes over in order to match the front to the back. So I'm going to trust that by some miracle of the sewing gods that this is going to work out right, because it just doesn't look like it's going to turn out right. But it will. I have faith. I have faith. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew these two pieces together and have faith that I wish George Michaels was here right now. So one of the things that I don't like about the brother is the fact that there's this little piece in here. This takes up and down the thread to actually help you put it through to the needle. And it's like an upper lower looper, I guess you'd call it. And this little guy right here always fills up with thread, like a bobbin. That never happens with my Singer, and that's never happened with any of my other sewing machines. That's the reason why I don't like brothers. I need a drink after fixing this sewing machine because it's really aggravating. Ugh, I hate it when machines break down, and I'm grateful that I can fix them, and I recommend everybody have a toolbox to fix their sewing machine with, but yeah. It's aggravating. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to overcast my seams, my inside seams, and I'm going to do that with this zigzag, let's try that again, zigzag stitch, zigzag, zigzag. So this is the vest so far, the vest for the jean jacket, and I have to say it's turning out okay. I like it. It looks cool. It's everything's hitting in the parts where it should hit. Thanks, Michael. And we're all set to go for the sleeves, I think, are next. Collar and lining. I don't know that I'm going to do a lining. I don't want to do a lining. If I don't have to do a lining. I've never had a lined jean jacket before. It's always been raw inside. I don't know. Jean jackets to me don't have linings unless that's why you wear a hoodie with your jean jacket, so you can look really tough. And it's the collar. I hate doing collars. I don't like collars. I suck at collars. I suck at collars almost as bad as I suck at making buttonholes. Oh, these are the parts I don't like. Alright. I have to push on whether I like it or not, like it or lump it. So now we're going to do the collar and the lining. I don't think I want to do a lining. I don't want to do a lining. I don't want to do a lining. A lining? No lining. I'm not doing a lining. That's it. I'm not doing a lining. I've never had a lined jean jacket before. You just do your, you want to do a lining? Be my guest. I'm not going to do a lining. Because if I was going to do a lining, I would have lined this before I sewed it together. I just don't want to do a lining. Is that bad? Am I bad? I don't think so. We'll see. We'll see. Oh no. Okay, moving on. So now we're on step 18, which is stay stitch, neck, and collar of jacket. So that's what I'm going to do next. So we're on to step 19 with sides together, fold collar along the fold line, and then stitch at ends and trim. You want to put your right sides together. So with mine, I trim my interfacing so that I don't have bulky seams. So you can do the same if you'd like, and I'll show you what that looks like as soon as it's done. So I've got my collar all done. It's all finished. It's all been top sewed, top stitched. The only thing that I don't like is that my tip on one end didn't come out nicely like the other tip did. And it should be very sharp because that's going to be the collar. So, and I've tried popping it out, I've tried getting it out, and I can't do it, and I don't want to sit there and have to go back and undo the top stitching. But it'll do for me, and I'm happy with it. So now we are on to step 20, which is pin the collar to the neck edge, clipping jacket when necessary. So let's do that. Next. So I'm going to do the lining of the jacket, so I have to take the whole entire process, except for the sleeves, and do everything over again. And I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done. So one of the things that I don't like is the fact it doesn't talk about finishing your edges or turning your edges in or finishing it. I've got the lining attached to the to my jacket now. And that's the lining, and it doesn't talk about turning the edge in and finishing it all, and it doesn't talk about turning this edge in and finishing it all. So in the instructions anywhere, it just says turn on the fold. And I want mine to have a clean look inside, so I'm going to finish my edges on the inside. I'm just going to give them a little fold in. Okay, next up. So I've got all three things together. I've got the lining, I've got the collar, and I've got the jacket all together in this really thick. I hope this turns out. I don't know that it will. I don't know that it won't. But everything is sandwiched together, and when I flip the lining to the inside, it should take the collar and pop it the right way, and everything should line up beautifully. I totally put this together the first time without the collar on it. I forgot to add the collar, so I had to rip everything out and start over again. So if you do, don't forget your collar. It's in between there, so your collar should be sandwiched in between there. All right, say a prayer. I hope this works. So right now we're doing the stitching along the front stitch lines, the edge stitching around the front opening and neck edges, and you're connecting the stitching lines as shown. So right down the center and on the sides and around the neck collar. We're at 33, you stitch the upper edge of the sleeve between the small circles. So we're going to do that now. Ease stitches in. All you're doing is a running stitch from the small circle to the other side of your shoulder to make sure that you've got the easing in when you put in your sleeve. And now we are going to step over to step 34. Now we're actually going to stitch the sleeve together to the tiny dot. So you're going to turn your fabric inside out, right sides together, and you are going to sew along the seam until you hit the little dot. And then you're going to back stitch over that little dot so you make sure that that's locked in there really well. 34. So I've finished my sleeves and I'm on to make the cuffs. So let's go over here and look at the cuffs. So we are on number 36, turn in sleeve allowances to unnotched edge of cuff, press, trim, pressed seams allowance 3/8 of an inch. So there we go. That's going to be a lot of fun. So with the right sides together, we're going to put the sleeve in. We're going to tuck it on the inside, and then we're going to pull on those threads that we put on earlier so that it will fit snugly inside of the sleeve. And then we're going to stitch that in, and it'll look really nice. That's 40. And this jacket has a lining, but it doesn't have a sleeve lining. So it just has it where the armpit is, or the armpit, the arm is, where the arm opening is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some bias binding, and I'm just going to go around the edge of that because that's going to be a raw edge. And the sleeves aren't lined. You can line your sleeves if you want. I'm not doing that right now. So what I'm going to do is, this is the lining, and I'm just going to go in and I'm going to put this bias binding around the edge of the sleeve so it looks neater. There's not a raw edge there, even though it's turned under and it's been, I did my zigzag stitch over it and everything, it still just doesn't look right. So I'm going to do that, and I will show you what that looks like as soon as I'm done. So now I have sheared the shoulder of my sleeve because you want to take it and you want to pull those long threads so that your shoulder crunches together so it actually fits inside of your sleeve. And I'm going to put that now into the jacket, right sides together. If I can reach for this pin, and I'm just going to pin it real gently, and then if I have any problems fitting it, I can pull even tighter on those threads, but I think I've sheared it pretty well. And then I'm going to sew that in, and I'm going to try the sleeve again, and we'll see what happens. I've just been trying to put in my sleeve, and I sewed and I sewed, and I found out that I have no bobbin thread. So for the last 15 minutes, I've been sewing and not had any bobbin thread. So I have one sleeve in. Hooray! My sleeve is in. I'm so happy. It's in. And the puff is where it should be. I had to take it out and put it back in. I was sewing, I sewed it in and I didn't have any bobbin thread, and then I sewed it in and it was not in the right place, and the puff part was on the back because I lined it up wrong. So I'm just happy I have a sleeve. Happiness. Okay, despite all the madness, all the craziness, I have 2 sleeves in. 2 sleeves! Hooray! So now we're on the band. That's the bottom band that's going to take place, and that is step 41. So you're going to take your bottom band with your lining on it, and you're going to fold it in half. Now, I do my bindings differently. I don't trim. They're asking you to trim, like 42 is saying, you know, bend it in half and then trim the edges and make sure it fits perfectly. I don't cut any fabric off of anything until I know it fits perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the waistband, and then I will pin it onto the jacket so I make sure that it fits properly, and then I will finish it the way I normally finish a waistband, and I'm not. So now I've got the lining on the jacket. It's pinned from the inside out, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand sew this onto my jacket, because when I tend to sew with the sewing machine, it has a tendency to like squish the fabric together, and I will show you what that looks like as soon as it's done. So now we're going to do the buttonholes on the jacket. So you've got the placket that you lay down for the front of the buttonholes, and then you will then put on the buttons. So I will show you what that looks like as soon as I'm done. So, all the things that I loved about the jacket, I love where it hits me, I love the fabric that I chose, I love the way this turned out. I made a million mistakes with this. Millions. I was trying to make up for time because I didn't have time. My time constraints were really bad. So I was rushing through this, and in doing that, I put a yoke in here. There's a yoke in the jacket itself, in the body of the jacket, but there's not a yoke on the lining. There's like, the lining inside is like a vest. It doesn't line all the way through, so you don't do lining through the arms. If I was going to do the jacket again, I would totally add lining to the arms, and I would just do a full lining on the inside. I wouldn't just do like a vest lining. The pattern is easy to understand. I would not recommend it for a beginner unless you're really so savvy, because there's a lot of detail to this. I loved making the jean jacket, and at the same time it was like a love-hate relationship because I just didn't have the time. The tip on my collar didn't come out right because I rushed through this whole thing. I put the whole entire jacket together and then realized I didn't have the collar in. Oh my God, I was like, ah! I wanted to like run out of the room screaming like a person with their hair on fire. There's a lot of detail on this that I didn't get to finish. Like they want you to edge and top stitch the whole entire jacket. I didn't have time for that, unfortunately. I had stitched and top stitched the back of the jacket and the lining in the back. I did it on the pockets, but I didn't do the lining in through the top stitching through the front of the jacket where the placket is for the buttons and the buttonholes. I didn't do that. I did do it on the collar after I put it in. But I love this jacket. I absolutely, I just love it. It's so cute. And I'm so happy, even with the mistakes in it, because I'm not perfect by any means. And I still think it looks absolutely adorable. I'm in love with it. But if I was to ever do this again, I would definitely make it so that I have time. I just didn't have the love and the time to put the love into the jacket that I wanted to. But it despite all the frustration that I went through with this jacket, because I did, I'm proud. I'm proud. I'm proud of it. I really am. I love this jacket. It is so much fun, and it's so cute. And I love the fact that I made it. Oh, that was the other thing. For the jacket to hit me properly, I had to use a pillow again. And the pillow worked out perfectly, because it's very hard to fit for yourself, on yourself. It's extremely hard, and I don't have my dress dummies down here at all. So what I did was I ended up taking a pillow and this belt and took the, I will show you. The thing was, it came to a point where I was like, I couldn't measure my waistband all the way around, and I couldn't measure the jacket all the way around me. So what I ended up doing was I ended up using this pillow as a dummy, and actually it worked. Because I knew my waist measurement. I knew this is about the width of my shoulders, and it worked. And it worked out perfectly. It made it so that I could actually make it so that it fit my waist absolutely perfectly, and I could pin it. I loved this idea, because the one thing that I've learned about this is that I've learned how to do things like when you don't have things like dress dummies or the supplies you need to like think of things in a blink of an eye. So this idea of using a pillow as a dummy is a really good idea. So I recommend this jacket for people that are intermediate and people who are experienced sewists. I would not do this for a beginner unless you're really so savvy, because there's so many details in this. Anyway, I wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to hear from you guys if you make this jacket or if you have made the jacket. I would love to hear back from you guys. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll talk to you guys all real soon. Bye-bye.